Hey King Tommy, how's it going? Also, give me a little feedback on how the stream sounds. I've been messing around with some audio settings trying to make it sound better. It's okay. I've got the gameplay down, so I don't get copyright strikes or anything. Why are we switching this? Oh, what was that? Why would you switch? Go, DJ. Just as usual, I'll probably just play a quarter of gameplay. Wait for some late people to come in, and we'll get started on textures today. God, I'm playing terrible. Why'd I jump? Like, why'd you switch that? Oh, I don't get this game. Like, we have point guard on point guard. And he just leaves Sykes right open to switch. For no reason. game already. That's why I mod it and I don't play it. God damn it. Oh, how can little Kyle Adnam stop that? Oh, this game is bullshit. Alrighty, let's just jump into it. I'm over gameplay. Alright, so I believe where we left off last time, we just finished the bulk of the modelling. And since then too, I've done some work off camera and just kept working on it. So this is what we have at the moment. And we're just about ready to go full on into texturing today. Joseph's I've been converting Cyberfaces recently and they've turned out great, but I don't know if I'm doing it how others are doing it because I use the tracks. So to be honest, I've never converted Cyberfaces. I'm not too sure how to do that at all. God, who does it? Where's the Great? Kyle maybe as well. But yeah, so today we'll be going all in on texturing. We're going to start off doing some texture painting in Blender, and then I'll show you guys how I do it all in Photoshop. So what we'll do is we'll get Blender open, get everything imported, ready to go. I showed you this guy in the first stream on how to set all this up. I believe that. Gotta make sure it's the updated model I'm importing in. Alrighty, so we'll delete everything but the head shape. Get our texture set up so we have something to paint on. Oh, make sure we're in cycles render. Image texture, open, texture. Slight difference, I just renamed all these textures as well. Since we were in, since the last stream, I just played tested it and realized that I needed to change all the name of the textures. So where you change them as well, I'll just quickly go into that. So you've got to change the name of the file. Here I changed it to Tyler H, and you've also got to change it in the face color txtr file. Just down here under binary, you've got to change it and make sure that those two are the correct names. So we'll set our texture up. We've got it on texture, and we'll go on in a texture paint mode again. Alright, so I also I ended up finding a good new texture reference that we'll be using today. So we'll just go over, we'll go texture, make sure that texture brush is there, hit open, Tyler Harvey, and this is the new texture right here. We'll make sure that's set to stencil, just like we did in the first episode. And this is very similar to what we did in the first episode. Just scale it and overlay it correctly. We'll also make sure our brush is set to strength 100. So it's not blending or anything. Let's shift, right click and Y to scale on the Y axis. And we'll just make sure that that's positioned correctly. Alrighty, I think it should be alright there. We have to make our brush bigger, and we'll go over it and just see how it lines up. The eye's a bit out there, so we'll go back over that. So it's the nose, so we'll do that now. I might scale it on the x-axis a little more. There we go. That's looking better. Got a little bit of that eye. How does that? No, it doesn't line up the best with it, so I'll move it down a little. Get his hairline, all that skin texture in there as well. My specs for my computer, you mean, Joseph? shift it across to make sure that nose lines up. God, so I believe I'm running an i7 7800K, RTX 3070, and I think that's about it really. That's the all important stuff. Alrighty, so now we've got that textured on. Go to the UV image editor here, click on our face texture and just save that as a PNG. Now we'll head over to Photoshop. And this is where all the magic happens. So this is where we left it off last time. So this was our base textured on. And that's how we did it. We did it with the color match, with 50-50 color match and the default layer set to color. We also added a brightness layer just to brighten it all up. So what I'm going to do in between, I want to leave the color layer on the back, on the top, sorry, and we'll import our new textured in there. So it's still somewhat affected by that color layer. We'll do the same thing, grab our lasso tool, and we'll just go over the outline, what we want. Select inverse. Oh, we've got to make sure we rasterize that layer as well before we can delete it. That's right, Tim. So this one, to me personally, is a lot better than UV painting and cloning, just because you've got so much more control. Like say if you've unlined it, you can move the stencil out. You can also get a whole bunch of different angles as well, which we'll get on the side angles. I'll show you that more in depth then. So what we'll do here is we'll do the same as we did first. We'll do match color, background, and we'll go to a 50 blend. Alrighty, how's that looking? I'll actually get rid of our original one. Straight onto the background there. Alrighty, so what I'm going to do, we're just going to erase around the edges here. Make sure it's at 100. Now I did some trialing and error last time off camera after the last stream, and I really want to try and keep this hairline intact just so we know where it is with the next texture paint. What I'll do is just go around these blurry bits of his beard. I might actually keep just that bit too to help line up the next ones. I do have a bit of highlights here, not much issue with shadows though. Get these bits on his nose here. How does that affect his nose? Can't see it. Erase those bits, the vertexes that were hidden during the texture paint. And we'll paint them in the same colour, so we'll grab our paintbrush and get the same colour. And we'll just blend those nostrils in a little better. The same thing for this part down here that we did the first time. Get a slight base color down, and we'll try and blend it in a little better. We'll also erase these lips. Actually, what I'm going to do What 2K did you start making mods? I started making mods on the tail end of 2K18 for good old Blue Jay Brandon's draft class. I remember I was watching modding tutorials back from 2K14, and I didn't even have a computer then until about 4 or 5 years later. So what I'm going to do for the lips, I'm not going to erase them because the color is so different on the texture itself here. What I'm going to do is grab the clone stamp brush, and this is a longer method to do it. What I'm going to do, make sure that opacity is set to 100. So if you hold Alt and click, this will be its source for the clone stamp. Then you can just paint along this ridge here, and you can see the little crosshairs below the circle there, which I'm painting. That's where it's taking the clone source from. So you just click Alt, change that source again. Basically what we're doing is just trying to get rid of this pixelated line here. And we'll blend it in a little better later. Alrighty, so we'll set our brush to about 50 around then, and we'll just help blend these colors in a little better. You can see it's sort of clearly duplicated, but that shouldn't matter too much, as most of those parts you can see from where it didn't paint, they're not going to show in game. That's the lips done there, and also for the eyes, I'm just going to erase the eyes again. And that in a little better, keep those eyelid folds. How do they line up with the previous ones? They're a bit higher. That should be okay. So now I've got that done. I'm going to set my brush to a lower opacity. You can see these glitching bits in and around the eyes. We're going to get rid of those there and on the side of the nose. Right under the eyes here. The nose, we've got some differences there. It's really just blending in and using some of that default texture behind it as well. On the cheeks here you can see the detail's sort of lost. And up and around here. No, I haven't been working on the 77 project. Bell came and asked me about it, but I've just got too much on my plate with the MBL mod. So yeah, it would have been something cool to work on, but unfortunately not. No, I've spent all my time on the MBL 2K21 mod. I'll do the forehead up here too. Trying to bring in some of that detail from the back as well, because we do have a new texture reference here. That's a lot better than the ones we had before, but there's still not that much detail in the skin. Much more detail in the default texture of 2K that we use. Erase back down there as well. Looks a little dark up here. Oh, that's because that's there. That's better. The little issue I see running in is our hairline is taller than the default one we've got. So with this selected, what we're going to do, we'll click on our background layer. We'll quickly grab the patch tool and just draw a line around where the hairline comes down. What we'll do is just slightly move it above, if it wants to do that. There we go. Also just fix this up here a little bit. do, because the patch tool doesn't seem to be wanting to work cooperating with me today, I'm going to grab the clone stamp tool and do the same method how we did the lips. So this is just making sure that there's enough detail in that skin to cover where the new hairline is. Should be enough, so there we go. You can also see on the background color, getting sort of these here. I believe that's because, yeah, there's more skin up the top where there was on the default one. So what we'll do, we can either grab our erase tool on the color layer. See if we can erase that back, which doesn't look like it's going to. So I'm going to grab my brush tool, get the color of the hair. I'm going to go up slowly with the opacity, and we'll just go over that bit there. Get rid of that redness in the hair. There we go, that's looking alright. I'm going to blend the bottom of this beard in a little better, so we don't get those pixeled lines. Just with a lower opacity brush, I'm going to keep going over and over it, just so we get rid of those lines there. Up here I can see some shadows, so I'll get rid of them there. Not shadows, sorry. Some highlights of the hair. See, that lines up quite well, so I might just get rid of that entirely. Alrighty, so as is, that's looking kind of good. What I'll do is I'll save this, check it in game. Like you saw from the past previous streams, I really like and make sure that you check it in game as much as you can. So we'll save it as color and alpha. Back over to our face if, and we'll put the new one in and just see how it looks. There we go, that's looking much better. Those eyelid folds look pretty good still. Alrighty, I'm liking how that's coming out. So now we have the front on, text painted on and blended in. We'll save it again as a PNG, and then we'll go on to texturing our different angles and our side angles. Okay, so what I'm thinking, I'll just go back over our references. So for the side on shots, we have this one here. That gives us some nice detail within the beard, going around under the chin. The hairline, not so much. But I believe this one, the beard, not so much, but I think that hair on the corner there, it'll be a much better texture to use. So what we'll start with, we'll start from that 45-degree angle. We hit 3 on a numpad to get it on the side. Okay, so now we've updated the texture, but it's still going to show like this in Blender. Hey, P. Sammy, what's going on? So it's still going to show like this in Blender. So if you go down to your UV image editor window, go to image and reload. And because we saved it as a PNG, it'll load up all our changes. And we want the side on reference now. We'll click on we'll click on the image here. And we'll click on the new folder just to open another one. And we'll find that side on that we had, this one here. Now you don't need both sides. What I like to do when I texture like a 45 or a side angle is just like when we're doing modeling. You can scroll down on the side here to symmetry and symmetry X. So everything you paint on one side will be shown on the other. You don't really want to do that on front ons because you can really notice the symmetry there. But for something like on the side of the faces, it doesn't really show up in game that much at all. So what we'll do, line it up, scale and line it up with everything we need. Now it doesn't matter if it doesn't line up too good like this one is here. what we'll focus on first is that hairline. So we'll get the corner of the hairline lined up. And this is the beauty of using stencils to texture paint. So if you're having trouble lining anything up, we can just simply move the stencil around to what we need it to. So we'll get in the corner there, come down and up and around the ear, there. So what we'll do is move it back here, just sort of get in and around the ear there. Now we'll line up this beard where we just went from. We probably won't be using the beard, but we'll put it on there just for keep's sake. That line up so that starts coming down here. Do that along, and when we get to this chin strap, we can scale it on the X and just bring that back in and blend it together. Now we've got that beard. We don't really need much else from these angles, but just for keep's sake, I will get some of the cheek there. Might also get some of that eyebrow, see if that looks alright. Although that'll change the angle of it. No, I'll just leave it at that for our textures. So as you can see, it's done on both sides. To create the hair, are you talking about the 3D hair, James, or Jack James? What I'll do is I'll save that and we'll put it back into Photoshop like we did before. Alrighty, so now the same thing, we'll grab our lasso brush and just make sure, lasso tool, and we'll make sure we go over everything we just texture painted. We keep there, nose, the chin, and go across to the other side. And come down here. So no, we won't be texture painting the 3D hair, we'll just be using the 2K defaults. We will, however, be modeling it to fit exactly to our custom 3D Cyberface, so it fits all nicely, there's no glitches in the hair or the hair's floating. Select inverse and delete. Oh, we forgot to rasterize the layer. Alright, as you can see, it's still under our color layer. So you can toggle that on and off, you can see the difference there. What we'll do is go, because there's some dark shadows around here, what I might try is I'll go image adjustment, shadow and highlights. So on here you can sort of adjust the shadows and the highlights here. The only thing is it doesn't quite work for the hair, but what we could do, I think we'll just mainly be erasing that, or even fix it in a different adjustment layer like a color and contrast and brightness setting. Highlights I don't think we need to mess with too much. Right, so I might just set that to 50. How does that look? You can see there we got rid of that shadow underneath the chin. We'll also do the match color as well. The source layer is the one we're working on. The source is what the file we're working on. And the source is where we want to grab the color from. We'll hit 50 on that. Then we'll grab our erase tool and start blending her in. We're going to set it to 100 and start to do all the outlines first. make sure that hard edge is gone. Sure, we'll cut in as close as we can here. So get rid of this chin because we do want to still use that front on chin texture for his beard. Okay, if I'm going up too high here, we can blend all this in as well. That's the part we want to keep. Go to a lower opacity to help blend it in a little better. So we'll go over the edges again. Like I said, mostly here we're just going to try and keep the beard texture intact. Alright, so that's not going to be possible here. But what we can do is just erase this part here. So that's not in the way now. So once we erase that skin texture here on this layer, see that'll line up. I'll also grab this bit up here. Actually, I might clone stamp that just so we can keep the same colors. Okay, how can we attack this? I think what I'll do is on this layer here, I'll just grab my brush tool, just go over this corner. We can fix this later on. Alright, so that's looking good. So what we're going to do is we'll first make an adjustment layer. What we want to do is darken the hairline up about around the top of the hairline and to where it fades in behind the ears. So what we can do is we'll make a brightness contrast level and we'll link it to our bottom layer here. It's just affecting that one. And now what you want to think here is you just want to be looking at where you're blending it. So for us, it's mainly this part up here. Which that's looking good there. And now the way we can have it just affect it up here is this is the layer mask, the alpha mask for that brightness and contrast adjustment. So if we click on that, we can go to the layer mask settings. We click on invert, so that means it won't affect any of it. With that layer mask selected and we grab our erase tool, we can just go over the parts where we want that contrast and brightness setting to affect. I want it to affect that up there. A little dark here, so I'm going to darken that. That's looking good to me, and we'll do the same to lighten up the bottom of this texture here. So we'll make another brightness and contrast level. Make sure we link it to the bottom layer, and we'll do the same thing. We'll get it to the point where we want it, so it blends in with that skin texture. Invert the mask. We'll just go over where we want it to be affected. See there, that's blending a lot better now with our color of the texture. Same thing with under the chin here, which I think I'll just end up erasing and using 2K defaults, which we'll do that now, just because you can see how stretched this texture is here. What we can do is blend it in a lot with the texture that the default texture that we've got. So what I'll do now, grab my erase tool with that layer selected. Go over that now. I'll also lower the opacity even more. Put that blend in. Okay, so what am I seeing that is wrong here? I think I could do another contrast. There we go. So I'm going to lower the contrast just on that beard and blend it in a little better down the bottom. Sorry if I'm having a hard time sort of explaining what I'm doing. It's just something that I've gotten used to where I don't really think about it. Like all these different techniques, and trying to sort of keep on track and explaining what I'm doing. It feels a little weird for me, but I'll keep trying to do my best. Just let me know how I'm going in the chat. Blend the top of the hair a little better. Okay. I think I'm liking that now. Take that in game and see how it looks. I think that works quite well. There's a little more colour in the top of that hair than I like. So what I'm going to do is add another adjustment layer, but what I'm going to do now is a hue and saturation. I'm just going to drop the saturation here, so we can sort of get that greyness in the hair like we get from the TK default. You can see in here, it's a lot less saturated. Thanks Tim, I'm trying to. And we'll do the same thing, we'll invert that mask and we'll just make it get up here. I might as well lower the opacity even more. Just get in and around that beard to match that 2K default. Okay. Now what I'm not liking is this area on both sides, how it sort of goes from a light pale and then it's real to shaded here. So we'll blend that a little better. I believe that's this layer here, which is. I'll try and blend that in a little better. We could even set another adjustment hue and saturation layer. Just let it affect that one. Drop the saturation a little bit. Brightness. Go. I'm not liking this neither on the bottom of the nose, how dark it is. Just erase that back in. Alright, so let's see how that looks in game. Al Horford about to be bought out. Oh, I miss Al Horford. As a Celtic fan, I really miss Al Horford. But yeah, I don't really see why OKC would want him with what they're trying to do. But God, if I was Al, I'd just keep getting the bags. He is getting paid quite a lot. Alrighty, so I'm liking how that's looking. Okay, so what we might do is, I'm not liking how dark and sort of yellow the overall texture is. What I'm going to do is make sure I'm on top here. Above my color layer, I'm going to add a hue and saturation. I'm going to click on this drop down here, so we're just affecting the yellows, or we can affect the reds, whatever color we'd like. What I'm going to do here is affect the yellows. I'm just going to slide this top over to the left a bit. Just sort of bring those yellows in. Possibly add more. Do the same for the reds. Brightness, I'll do this another brightness and contrast as well. I'll up the contrast and up the brightness. Yeah, that looks in game. I think that might be a little too much. That brightness and contrast layer. Yeah, that was a bit too much, it looks like. Oh, that's not looking too bad. Yeah, I'm liking that overall. Might just drop it down a little bit. Alrighty. It's hard to see, but I want to see how the bottom of that chin looks. That's what I mean. That's why I miss Al so much. To Tim, we could really use him right now. A lot of people didn't realise just how much he meant to us, really. It doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but he was the centerpiece of that team. What I'll do is I'll go to signatures, see if we can see under that chin. I think that should be fine, because we will be adding a 3D beard model to there as well. So as of right now, I'll leave that. Alright, so I might get into some of the really cool stuff that I think you'll like. What I'm going to do now is we'll unlock the background layer. And with that selected, we'll hit shift and we'll group everything. This is a trick that I really like to do to help sharpen the whole image, is we'll duplicate that and merge it. So we've just got it as one whole image and we've got it as the group. What I'll do is I'll go image, desaturate, and we'll go and hit it with a high pass filter. So the settings that I like to go is with the high pass filter, you can do it both ways to add a lot more detail in it. It's almost like sharpening it in a better way. So I like to make the radius low, like somewhere around 4 to 5. We'll go 4 on this one. And then what I'll do is I'll go blend mode and we'll set this to either overlay or soft light or harden. I think maybe hard light is the go. What I'll do is I'll lower the opacity down to about a 75. Now what I don't like it affecting, you can see here are these eyelid folds and how dark they're getting. eyelid folds in the game, if they're really dark and outlined, they can really make your Cyberface look fake, if that's the right word. Like it looks like they're drawn on. So what we want to try and do is keep it as natural looking as possible. We'll just make sure it doesn't affect that, but it does affect all the skin texture as well, the eyebrows as well. I might get it, stop it from affecting these nostril folds here and the ears. So what this linear light, so what this high pass filter does, basically, it just sharpens it in a much better way. So you can see the difference here. Just adds a lot more detail there. Also erase it from the bottom of these lips. I don't want them that dark. Alright, we'll see how this looks in game also. It might get a bit annoying just how much I'm changing over, but like I said, you're making it for the game, so you want to constantly be checking how it looks in game. He was so undervalued by a lot of his fans for sure. Oh, I don't know about Boston fans. I think Boston fans are smart enough to realize just how good he is. And if you're watching the games, you can really just see what he did for us. Personally, I used to love when he got switched on pick and roll and he was guarding the point guard and the point guard thought it was an easy bucket. It was never an easy bucket. Al Horford could guard 1 through 5. Hey JJ, yeah, texture work on here now. I just showed them the linear light filter, which I think I've shown you before in voice chat in the Discord. So we'll save that and update it, which I think we have, but just to make sure, I'll do it again. So that was it without that linear light and high pass filter. And this is it with. So there's a lot more detail in that texture now. And now I like to do that again. But this time we'll set it to a higher radius. And I'll show you why. So we'll duplicate that. Desaturate, filter, high pass, and we'll set it to something really high, say around 50. So you can see now this will really affect the shadows and the shape of the face. And for this one, I always like to set it to overlay and make sure the opacity is quite low. So we'll go something about 20. And you can just see those subtle differences there in the shadows of the face. Put that down once again too. We'll erase where we don't want it to do it, like the eyelid folds around those nostrils there, in the lips, and in the ears. So as you can see, the big difference is just from those two filters that are overlaid. That's without them, and that's with them. You can add a lot more detail in your textures. I'll save that again. There we go, it's really coming along nicely now. But a hair fade maybe. Alrighty, so what we'll do now to help see it is we'll make an alpha channel for it. So basically, thanks JJ. So basically what an alpha channel is, if we go to our channels, an alpha channel, so this is the roughness map for the face. So this is what tells the game what areas to do shiny with the light reflections and what to do pale with the light reflections. As you can see here, all the hair is black, the innards of the ears, and we've got some detail here. So that's what it's trying to read now. That's why it doesn't look good in game. You can see it with the overlay. So it's not quite showing, it's not quite shading everything we want it to with our new texture. So what I'm going to do is we'll duplicate that group again. We'll merge that group so we have our own image, and we'll go over to our channels and we'll grab either our red, green, or blue channel. I think normally I grab our red. And we'll grab our magic wand tool with a tolerance of 255 so we can select that whole channel. Hit copy and paste. So now this will be the start of our alpha channel. Basically, we want to get this image here to look like this to start with. So what I'll do is I'll go over to layers and we'll add a levels layer on top of that. And what this does is you can bring the whites up wider. As you can see there, we want to do it to where we're not losing any on the beard, but all the skin texture is white. Also do that to the hair, make it a little darker, but bring this middle slider over. Yeah, and you can see we've still got bits of the ears, back of the ears here and the eyes. What I'll do is I'll just grab my brush tool with the white selected and go over that channels layer that we got. Make sure it's white and we'll go over them there. Same with this little point in the nose. We've got our lip showing still. Basically what we want is just to make sure it shows just the hair and the nostrils and those inner parts of the ear, like the default alpha channel for the 2K textures. Alrighty, so this can be a pretty good roughness map here to begin with, but what we'll do to add even more detail to this as well is we'll grab this layer up over the top and we'll do that same high pass filter, this time with some slightly different settings. So we'll go desaturate, filter, other high pass, and for this we'll go around 8 to 10. You can play around differently with that, but basically what we want is we want that lower detail that we added before, but we also want some highlights as well. So what we'll do is we'll make it 8. Here's my tried and true method, and for this one we'll set it to linear light. So as you can see here, it's got all the beard there in the dark black, all the eyebrows, those nostril folds there, but it's also got all the skin details in like a light grey. So that means within all those details it'll be shaded correctly to what a face is shaded in real life. So what we'll do is we'll grab those 3, and I like to put it in its own group as well, just in case we need to edit that down the line. We'll duplicate that and merge it. We'll set this as our alpha channel. Add those 2 so the texture's showing, and we'll see how that looks in game. Save it as color in alpha. So this should have quite a big impact on how it looks. So this is it with the default alpha channel. And this is it with our new alpha channel. We can see it's much more clearer. We've still got some issues, say, above here on the eyebrows. That's because it's the previous, that's still the 2K default normal map working. So we'll be making our own, and that'll get rid of just those bump maps there. So what I'm going to do is, I don't like how this eyelid fold's going. It seems a bit too dark. So what I'm going to do is grab another layer, make it on top, and we'll just slightly paint over that with a skin tone and a low opacity. It's a bit high. Maybe a bit in there. What we can do as well is lower the opacity of the layer. Alright. What I'll also like to do is some JJ, well, that's crazy. Yeah, that high pass on the alpha, it adds a lot more detail to it, JJ. So we're not quite, still not done on these textures yet. What I want to do is a little color correction. So if we can pull up our reference here, on most face references, can sort of see here under those under the eyes, we always sort of lose it. You can see how it's sort of more, less saturated. You can also probably see it better on, like, say, a photo like this. So we're going to try and mimic how those color changes under the eyes. So what I'm going to do is we'll add a hue and saturation. And what I'm going to do is just drop the saturation. So maybe go a little more red. And we'll invert that layer as well. With a low opacity erase brush, we'll just slightly get it to affect those areas there. Small little details, but things like this really show through. So as you can see the difference there now. How the faces are really shaded. We'll also make another one. And we'll go for some redness around the nose and in through the ears. This is trying to mimic subsurface scattering. This game doesn't really have it, so we've got to try and do our best with just the textures of it doing it. So what we'll do is we'll hit another one, and we're going to up the saturation this time. We'll make it slightly more red. Invert that as well and just hit it where we want it to affect. In and around the side of those noses. Also want it to affect the ears. Try and mimic, like I said, subsurface scattering, so the light passing through the skin of the character in game. So it gives that sort of red glow effect to it. Also, what I like to do is help it with shadows even more, so I'll add not a hue and saturation, a brightness and contrast. And we'll up the contrast and just lower that brightness. So this is to try and help with the shadows in game as well. And where I like to do that is just around the eyes, where they'll be inward on the face. Around these nostrils here to add more shadow. And those innards of the ear. I like to do it under the chin as well. No, that seems a little too much under the chin there. Okay, so let's see how that's looking any better in game. There we go, so slight differences there. You can see the more red on the ears. In on those nose a little bit better. That slight discoloration under the eyes as well. This is really coming around well. It probably helps significantly in game 2 where the detail doesn't come in as much as it does in edit player. That's true as well. It really helps reflect the lights like in game, which we'll see probably towards the end of the stream here. I think I'm going to leave it at that though, as of right now, just for the colour. I'm thinking this is really coming along quite nicely now. Might add a little more, change the colour in those lips as well. So we'll make another hue and saturation. Maybe not a hue and saturation, we'll try another brightness and contrast. We lower that, lighten that, how's that look? I think so, so we'll invert the map. With a full opacity, we'll go over the lips. Sort of brighten them up. we go, they're looking a little better now. Alrighty, I'm liking how that's going. Alrighty guys, I'm just going to take a quick 5-minute break again, as nature calls, and when I come back we'll go into in-depth in making a normal map. Alrighty, so just give me 5. Alrighty guys, I'm back. Sorry again about that. So now what we'll do is we'll move on to the normal channels. Alrighty guys, I'm back. Sorry again about that. So now what we'll do is we'll move on to the normal. Well, at least I know my audio now works while I'm live streaming quite well. Okay, so now onto the normal maps. What I like to do is I don't just like to make one straight normal map from the texture itself. What I like to do is because it'll make it read incorrectly. So how normal maps work is all the dark areas on the texture, the normal map wants to read it as it's like sort of inward, and all the light areas it wants to read it as high areas. Now that'll work well for the skin here. So if we zoom in on the skin, all these pores and the darker areas will be like inward on the normal map, and all the lighter areas on the skin will be facing outward. The only thing is that we'll then read all the hair as well as inward, which we don't want to do that. We want it to read so it's sort of got that bump effect on it. So what I like to do is make 2 or even 3 different normal maps and combine them so that it's all read correctly. What I like to do is I use the alpha channel that we've made. So what I do is I just save that as a PNG, and that will be one of our skin textures. So that will add depth to the skin, so it'll make those pores inward more. The eyelid folds, it'll give them that extra bump as well. What we'll also do is make a duplicate of the texture, and we'll just go image and desaturate that as well. So again, all these darker areas will be pretty much add depth to the normal map, and all the high areas will add height to it. So we'll save this as a skin as well. So we'll go skin 2. And what I'll do as well is, so now for the hair, we basically want this to be inverted. So we want all the hair to be white and all the skin to be black. So what we'll do is go image invert. And now we don't want any of that skin detail on it. We just want a flat black. So what I like to do is grab my brush and we'll just paint over all that so only the hair is showing in this map. We'll get all the ears in and around that hairline. Cutting the hair a little too much there. We'll get in the face as well. So like I said, all we want showing is the hair, the facial hair, and the eyebrows. If he's got any, say if like a player you're creating has say a mole or something like that on his face, where you do want that to be raised instead of lowered on the normal map, you can leave that in here. Around here, get his lips. And that chin. Alrighty, so what I'll do there is I'll save this as a PNG as well. For this one, hair. Now you can make different types of normal maps in Photoshop. So I believe if we go here, generate normal map. And you can generate normal maps here and mess with the detail scales here. What I like to do though is I take it to a different, I use a different application altogether to make my normal maps. I use Crazy Bump. Now this is a paid software, but it does give you a 30-month trial if you want to try it and see if it works best for you. So the way that this works is we'll open up our texture images here. Tyler Harvey face texture. Okay, so what I like to do first is we'll do the hair, and we're basically making 3 normal maps, which will then combine into one. So we'll do the hair first. And why I like Crazy Bump more than using the normal map generator in Photoshop is we've got this option here for shape recognition. So that tries to fake like a spherical shape on the texture. We don't want that, we just want it flat. So I'll set my shape recognition to 0. My intensity, I like to set it at 20. So these are settings that I've worked out through the years are the best for me. Sharpen, I like to go 99, just get as much detail as we can. Fine detail, I like to set to 30. You don't want that too high, otherwise it won't show that well through the game. Very fine detail, fine detail will go to 99. Large detail I'll set to 20. Very large I'll set to 40. And those are sort of my base settings that I use through every normal map. It might change slightly, but those are basically the settings that I use. So we'll save these normal, the hair, and we'll save that as a PNG, and we'll do the same for all 3. So the hair, I like to set a little higher intensity than the face, as you'll see now. So we'll do the skin. The skin intensity I like to set to 10, just because we are combining those 2 maps together, so it sort of doubles the detail in it. We'll go sharpness to 90, shape recognition to 0, fine detail to 30, 99, 20, and 40. And one more for the last skin map here. And we'll do it the same settings as we did for the previous one. So we'll go shape recognition 0, intensity set to 10, sharpen to 99, go 30, 99, 20, and 40. Okay, so now we've got those 3 texture maps. We'll open our texture one, our hair texture in Photoshop. And now to blend all these together, what I like to do is grab my skin texture 2, and I'll just place that over the top, and I'll set the type to overlay. What I like to do as well is we just erase pretty much everything that is showing here. So all the beard, the hair, and the eyebrows will erase in this map, so that the normal map only reads the hair on the bottom layer here. So we'll just grab our erase tool and we'll go over the outlines. This soul patch here, over the moustache. You can also flip this background off or the skin off just to see what you've done. Do up here more. I'll go the rough outline of the hair. Alrighty, so you can see now I've got it all outlined. I just like to hide that background layer and erase all the inner parts now. It just makes it a little easier to see. Do all in the hair. And one last thing that I almost forgot is we'll do the eyebrows. Make sure we have all of it there. We missed a part here. Alrighty. So now what this is showing is all the skin in the middle here is reading it correctly. So all the dark parts will be the depth in the alpha channel and the high parts will be the height in the normal channel, sorry. But with the hair, it's the other way around. So all the hair is going to be sticking outward and give that bump effect on there. What I also like to do is make that third one, so this skin one here, we'll whack over the top, and we'll also set this to overlay. And now, so we don't have to erase it all again, what I like to do is click on the image here and go select pixels, and then we can just go select inverse, make sure this is rasterized, and we can just hit delete. Now again, it's showing all the hair is correct. From experience, I can see this is going to be a little intense. So what I'm going to do is just lower the opacity down. And on both of these I might. So we'll go 75, 75. And we'll see how that looks in game. So the way we have a look is we'll grab our face normal. This face normal here is the normal map we're currently making. So we'll drag that into the folder. Save as, and we'll click that normal map. And now the way we save it is we don't want to save it as a color plus an alpha, as the normal maps don't have any alpha channels. So what we'll do is we'll keep it on the same compression type, which should be the B8 linear fine here, but we'll change the texture type to just a color. And we'll update this in game, put that back in the faceit file, into the modded folder. So this is how it looks with the default normal map on it. You can see specifically on the back too, how it's still trying to read that part of Josh Hart's hair. So what we'll do is see how it looks updated with our new one. There we go. So as you can see, it's reading it properly. That's right, JJ. So if we go on the side here, you can see it here. How that light is reflecting differently on that beard. It's sort of making it like it's almost a 3D beard effect, but it's all just in the texture. We can see it all in the skin as well. You can see it's same in the hair where it bumps up. And that's how I make my normal maps. That's looking decently okay. What I might do is with our skin texture, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower that opacity to 50. I'm going to bring this one back up to 100. We'll see how that looks. There we go, that's looking a little better there. You can see the 3D effect on the eyelids as well. I think that's looking quite good. Let's see how it looks with the face moving. So you can see all that light reflecting off the mustache there as well, and on the chin. Reflecting off his eyebrows as well. Alrighty, I like how that looks. So what I'm going to do is, because we've had to rename other textures, so we'll do the same for here. So we'll go into our face if and we'll grab the txtr file. And what I'll do is I'll just rename these numbers. Say Tyler H. I'll do the same in the txtr file. Replace those and make it say Tyler H. I'll save. Then we'll put those both into the if file. We can delete the old one, so the face normal with the numbers here. And delete that, as now it's going to read this Tyler H one. We'll update that in game. Make sure it all still loads. So there you go, it's reading them correctly now. Alrighty, now let's hop into a quick game. We'll see how that looks with game loading. What I'll do is I'll go to quick play. Load the NBL rosters. Go to New Zealand home, because that is the arena I can move the camera freely. The Illawarra Hawks still haven't quite updated finished that team yet, but we'll use it just to see how Tyler Harvey's looking. Also quickly put him in the starting lineup. And 2K wants to be mean and take a long time to load. That's right, Jack. Let's see how good it comes out. Hopefully it does. I think it should. That technique that I've made there that I've just taught you is a lot of trial and error. Just try and get all the right settings and make it looking nice. You can even see on all the other ones. So all the Cyberface that I made for the NBL mod, it's all the same way that I've created it. So they've all got the same alpha channels, all got the same normal map styles, so that the graphics are consistent across the whole mod. You can see them in game there. We get a closer up in replay editor, but that's looking nice. Still got to do a big body edit. He's a big boy. He's not in real life. That's how she's looking in game. Not sure if I've checked this yet, but do I have any slight eye popping? Set relatively to a minimum. Also see that lighting effect there too. See on the hair, it reflects that hair and the facial hair differently. If we go back to the start. It adds that depth there. Alrighty, I'm liking how this is turning out. So that's pretty much everything I know about textures. What I'll do in the next stream, I'm not sure when it'll be because I am back at work tomorrow, is we'll add the 3D hair and the 3D beard, and I'll walk you guys through all how to do that as well. But this will be ending it for this stream unless you guys have any other questions. Might give it a little play test actually. But yeah, so if you have any questions, just fire away in the chat. Also get some better shots of Tyler Harvey, see how it loads up. Yep, I'm really liking how this is coming along. do have some slight eye pop, which I'll fix off camera. Or I might fix actually in the start of the next stream. Super clean, thanks Tim. So yeah, I might do that actually at the start of the next stream, as I'll show you how to fix these slight eye popping that I get. I believe I got it because I did overall change the size of the head down because it was a bit too big. But I'm going to say that's it on the stream. So, well, there you go, guys. That was how I do all my textures. And yes, Jack, that's correct. So in the next stream, I'll go over... So I'll quickly touch up on the start is how to fix those eyes. And then we'll go into depth on how to add the 3D hair and the 3D facial hair for this guy as well. Alright, guys, thanks for coming along. And like always, again, this replay will be uploaded to YouTube so you can watch it back. It'll be timestamped so you can see when we've done the different changes, stuff like that. And join me for the next stream. Stay following to all my social medias. I'll announce then when I'll be going streaming and when the next guys I'll see you. Alright, bye.